painting in my dorm room. So, and I would like all of you to try and imagine painting in your head. In the painting, there's a beetle walking on grass, and the beetle has a really tiny man on its back. The man is as tiny as a beetle would be to human beings, and the man is holding an umbrella for heavy water drops falling from the grass. It's just a really interesting painting. I would like you to have at the back of your mind as I go on with my speech. So yeah, why do we regard a problem as a small problem? What makes one problem big and another problem small? Is it because one of the first idioms we learn in English class is making a mountain out of a molehill? Or is it because all those quotes say we should look at the bigger picture? Or is it because it gets annoying to the beetle in my painting if and when the man on its back complains about what may seem like just wet grass? I'd like to tell you guys a story. So last term, when I just come to AC, Atlantic College, for the first time, I remember being so overwhelmed by the people, the system, the environment. And I was so worried that I wasn't fitting in as quickly as everyone else seemed to. Like, all the other first years looked like they were having a really nice time and had adjusted so quickly. And in the midst of all of this, in the first week we were told that we were going to have a math test. And I have this tendency to get overly worried and stressed and anxious when faced with a completely unfamiliar task. And so I was worried. I was trying to read as much as I could. I was trying to remember stuff I had learned from my old school. And in the midst of all my worry and anxiety, I went to meet the second year to complain about my problem and to let things off my chest. And when I was done talking about this problem, you know what the second year said to me? He was like, "Child, don't worry. You don't have extended essays or external assessments or TOK essays. And you know how annoying it is when someone tries to put your problem into perspective for you at the wrong time." And it seemed like a pretty logical thing for that second year to do. I mean, what's a man to a mob? What's a math test to a TOK essay or your extended essay? What's a drop of water to an ocean? But that's my purpose today, to defy that logic. How about a man is a man and not a mob? And a drop of water is a drop of water and not an ocean. So I'm here today to present this grand idea to you, that a problem, perhaps, is just a problem. And my problem is my problem. It's not a small problem compared to, I don't know, starving kids in Africa. And my problem is an individually valid difficulty. And actually, I think it's a very simple idea, and I think we can all relate on every scale, personally, in the family, in the community, on a national level, internationally. On a personal scale, it could be that one time when someone betrayed you when you least expected it. And when you went to confide in another person, after letting out your problem and telling them everything, they said, "Oh, but did you die?" You can imagine how annoying it is, you know. On the community level, it could be that one person that complains about something, and because they have the smallest voice, they are not paid attention to. On a national level, it could be a country's news media so occupied with elections that it forgets to put the story of death of hundreds and thousands of people on the front page. And so the deaths of such large amounts of people become fourth, fifth page news issues. Now, I find that we smallify problems when we do one or more of these three things. One, when we don't care about the other problem, that person's problem. Two, when we evaluate a problem in relation to another problem. And three, when we evaluate a problem in relation to the grand scale. My speech today is not concerned with times when we actually don't care about other people's problems, because I think that's an issue for another day. My concern today is how we go about dealing with other people's problems when we care to bother about those problems. And so I find that we smallify a problem. Now permit me to use the word smallify from the adjective small. We smallify a problem when we evaluate that problem in relation to another problem. In doing this, we treat problems as though in the same way an economist would theoretically make his scale of preferences. And the issue with this is that our problems are problems and not just mere ones. They are actual real-life problems and not just theoretical solutions. And so when we do that, we treat problems as though there is a problem of the moment, and every other problem waits around to be that one problem of the moment. Because no, problems actually don't wait, and you and I know. When problems start, they go on and on and on, getting worse with time. Other times, we smallify a problem by evaluating it in relation to the grand scale. And the issue with this is that the grand scale has existed before us, and it will remain long after we are gone. I'm going to tell a story to illustrate this point. So the other day I was talking to a friend, and he told me about this Keeping Up with the Kardashians episode he watched recently. And in this episode, one of the Kardashian sisters lost her slipper. And apparently they spent 12 whole minutes of the show on the loss of that slipper. And my guess is that then he said to me, Immaculata, honestly, there are some things in this world that are necessary, and some things are very unimportant. And my guess is that most of us here share his sentiments, right? But my reply to him that day, which is the idea I'm trying to sell today, is that perhaps you could afford that problem. Perhaps you could afford that problem because she's lacking the basic discomforts of who you and I think is the average person. And perhaps you could afford that problem, even though it may seem trivial to you and I. And before we get carried away, I'm not saying that big issues should be treated less seriously than they already are, because they're now taking a irrelevant emphasis from issues to which they are due. Instead, what I'm really trying to drive home today is that a problem should not be regarded as any less of a problem, because the sufferer of that problem found the word problem fit to express whatever he or she felt he or she was feeling at that time. And the Oxford Dictionary defines problem as something difficult to deal with or to understand. And so if I wake up tomorrow morning and I'm having a hard time picking something to wear, and after a while I come up to you in frustration to vent about this problem, try to think of how my not finding the right outfit to wear that morning is as big a deal, is as big a problem as, let's say, a government dealing with tax evasion. And so my not finding something to wear any quicker does not affect the speed at which a government will be able to deal with their tax evasion issue, unless of course I'm part of the government. And so try to think, next time you're faced with someone else's problem, try to think that we all come from different places and different personal journeys. And a problem to me might not be a problem to you. And of course that's fine, because everyone is a master of their own misery, you know. Because you see, in my own world, I'm the center of my world, and everything revolves around me. And I don't mean this egotistically, but I mean this in the sense that in my world, I see things from my point of view. I see things as the world around me, happening to me. And so by not finding the right outfit to wear one morning, it's as big as, it's so big a problem. And of course that effect is not the same in your own world, because then your world revolves around you and you see things from your own point of view. Maybe we do this, and by this I mean regard a problem as a small problem. Maybe we do this because we want to feel, we feel obliged to the grand scale, and we don't want to feel like we're so full of ourselves, and we don't really care about the grand scale. But then we don't need to. We don't need to, because even in thinking globally and acting locally always begins with ourselves. We don't need to, because when we die having felt all our problems as profoundly as they came, some of which might have been the world's problems, but all of which were our problems. And so today, guys, I'm here to define the concept of small problem. And maybe next time, when you are faced with someone else's problem, you would reconsider before you validate that person's problem. Thank you.